Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Eric Jenkins. I'm the account manager for Connecting Up in TechSoup New Zealand, and I would like to welcome you to the webinar Drive Revenue, How to Build a Social Enterprise Within Your Not-for-Profit Organization, which will be presented by Matt Void from Volley. We'll start with just a little bit of housekeeping here. All the lines are going to be muted, so if you've got any questions during the session, just type it in the questions box throughout the session. I'll read those out to Matt, and he will go through those throughout the webinar. Please note that your comments and questions won't be appearing to the entire group. They will just be appearing to me. If you've got any technical issues on the same line, also just write a note in there and I'll do my best to try and help you troubleshoot that for you. Otherwise, just note that if you're on a Wi-Fi connection and have multiple programs open, that can sometimes affect the audio and video of the webinar. So if possible, just close those down just so that you can have the best experience that you can today. Before we start, I'd also like to remind you that this webinar is being recorded and a link to the recording will be sent to you all within a week after the webinar ends, and you'll be able to access it then at any time. Otherwise, that's about it from me, so I'll pass it over to you now, Matt. Take it from here.
Okay, there we go. Thanks, Eric. Really appreciate that. Welcome everybody that's joined this conversation today. Hopefully, over the next 45 minutes or so, I can provide a bit of value and some thoughts around new ideas for ways to generate new streams of revenue within your social enterprise. So the title of this webinar is It's All About Driving Revenue, and it's how to build a social enterprise or even multiple within your not-for-profit organization. I'll tell you a little bit about myself first of all. So my name is Matthew Boyd. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Volley, originally from London, for anybody that can pick the accent. Sometimes Aussies do actually think I sound a little bit more Australian these days, so I've got a bit of a merged accent there, but I've been living in Melbourne for over 10 years now. I've built my career here. I studied in a county in England called Buckinghamshire before traveling, and the plan was to go back and get a job in London and start my career, but something about Australia was just pulling me, and especially Melbourne, a city that I absolutely love. So over the past 10 or so years, I've built my career here. I've got an honours degree in marketing, and I spent quite a lot of time in ad agencies and the corporate space, but I was never really fulfilled. And I often had this situation of, you know, a year or a year and a half into a role, just it wasn't right, and I felt something was wrong with me personally. And so I wanted to do something a bit different, and I started volunteering. And it began with going to the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne with my two dogs and my wife to do some pet therapy, which is organised through Lord Smith. And we would visit kids in wards and just spend some time with them. And this really just opened up this whole new avenue in my life. And I became a serial volunteer, and I was working with mental health organisations, animal welfare organisations, environmental groups, you name it. And I also started to drive a lot of volunteering programs within the corporate space, and I was working with not-for-profits on helping them recruit volunteers. And so it's just led me down this journey, and it's created this love that I have for working in the not-for-profit sector. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the work that Volley does later on, but let's get to more of the detail with this particular webinar. Now, this is an interactive session where I'm going to be throwing out a lot of ideas and a lot of facts from the industry. So I do encourage people to just jump in with any questions they have. Eric and I have already spoken prior to this, and if any of those questions come through, he's just going to shut me up for a second and ask me those questions. So I really encourage you.
Oops, sorry, Matt, you just got muted there for a minute. If you could just repeat that last 10 seconds, that'd be great, thanks.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I encourage questions throughout. I want this to be an interactive session. Let's think of it as more of a workshop style. So looking forward to hearing what everybody has to say. Now, a few quick facts to really summarize what this session's all about. The dependency syndrome of not-for-profits exclusively on external funding can be broken, and that shift towards sustainability can be achieved through social entrepreneurship. Shifting financial dependence from charitable donations to self-generated earned income through social entrepreneurial ventures can be the future of the not-for-profit sector. This is something I truly believe. Commercialization among non-government organizations promotes self-reliance. I don't think there's anyone that would deny this. And just a few quick facts, more and more charities are starting up side hustles, as they can be called, or exploring new revenue streams. And we're talking about online merchandise stores, coffee carts, bookshops, even gyms. And there's one particular example of a not-for-profit organisation in South Australia that is doing just this and having some really great success. The conversations around not-for-profits turned social enterprises truly are taking centre stage. So what the market says, not-for-profit organisations operate in constant survival mode. And it's the creativity plus determination which is needed for better solutions, thinking outside of the box. What separates the best organisations is a culture of testing a variety of new revenue streams and figuring out what works. Now, my business, Volley, is we're 2 years into operation. We're still technically a startup, and startup culture is all about failing and failing fast and not being afraid to fail. Test things, A/B test them as it's referred to. Some of you might be familiar with that. Essentially, A/B testing is testing a couple of different scenarios and seeing what works best. But this trial and error is incredibly important because life isn't perfect and a lot of us will get things wrong, but that's okay. We learn from that and we improve. If you decide you want to experiment with earned income, you should undertake a rigorous strategic analysis and also a pilot program. So those two middle points there, it's important to trial and error and fail. There's nothing wrong with that. I suppose before that step, you want to develop that strategic plan. And when you go live, it is a pilot. It may tweak, it may adjust from what you ultimately have developed, but that pilot period, which can be anywhere, it could be a month, it could be a 12-month pilot period for a new initiative that you have. It allows you to adjust and tweak that particular new revenue model. Successfully developing an earned income strategy was one of the ways organizations broke through the $2 million annual revenue barrier over the last few years, which is a really incredible fact and really encouraging when we're exploring these new revenue streams. Commercial activities reduce the dependence on donor funding, as well as enhancing the resource diversification and organizational autonomy. We hear a lot of things from the donation space these days. My business, Volley, typically works with millennials and certainly within this audience through our own research and research that's out there. Donor fatigue is real. Donor skepticism is a reality, and funding is tough to get and highly competitive. Equally important, social enterprise can contribute to the emergence of an entrepreneurial mindset, not only among not-for-profit organizations, but also among communities and society at large as a whole. We're now in a generation of this entrepreneurial spirit. Somebody who's driving for Uber could have that entrepreneurial spirit. They kind of work around their own schedule. They turn on the app and work to a schedule and work to the days that suit them best. The startup ecosystem in Australia and around the world is absolutely exploding. It lives within so many of us, and it also translates to this freedom and flexibility we have the way around we live these days. You know, watching our favorite TV shows on demand and going back to Uber again, you know, that personal driver that's going to be outside our door in 2 minutes time because we're in a mad rush. And it all sort of goes against that traditional 9 to 5, and really the way we live and the way we work is changing dramatically. Earned income strategies work best for not-for-profits when they're highly aligned with their mission, and this is incredibly important. So what you do well as an organization there are additional avenues there and ways to generate revenue. So that's an important point, and I'm happy to explore that in more detail towards the end. But it's very, very important that these new revenue streams, they need to be aligned with your mission, so that your audience understand what they're all about. Organizations wanting to scale substantially should be driving towards one or two primary sources of reliable ongoing revenue. So testing a good diversity of approaches as they're growing. So I mentioned a couple of slides back, it's important to test a number of different options. You could consider 5 or 6 different new revenue streams, and we're going to see real life examples in a minute to give you some more ideas for I'm sure some of you have some ideas already, but we're going to see some examples. But that can basically come down to then, as it says here, 1 or 2 primary sources. You look at those revenue streams and you might think, okay, our online store is doing really well, but you know, that not-for-profit cafe that we have is just hemorrhaging money at the moment. So but we'll explore that in a couple of slides. Key reasons for success: don't sacrifice quality despite being mission driven. So that product, that service that you offer, just like any other product or service that customers are accustomed to using, it's got to be a really high quality to ensure that they keep spending the money with you. So commercial activities, oh sorry, I think I've gone the wrong way. Okay, here we go. So top 5 ways that you can create new revenue streams for your organizations. Now, when times get tough, the tough need to get creative. Establishing a more stable and consistent revenue stream is an important priority for not-for-profit organizations of all shapes and sizes. And sometimes donations aren't cutting it, as I've mentioned previously. And that's when it comes to getting your big ideas across the line and doing what you do well and representing that cause in the best possible way. With more and more charities starting up side hustles, like online merchandise stores, coffee carts, and so on, as I mentioned, it's just really transforming the sector and opening up new opportunities. I remember just a few years ago when people would hear, like not-for-profits, some that I would speak to would hear about social enterprises emerging, and it was almost this competitive nature that you would get from people, because you think, well, social enterprise, you know, some people have even said this could be the demise of the not-for-profit sector, but quite the opposite. They're integrating and becoming one and the same, and it's an incredible time to be considering these new opportunities for our sector. So number 1, opening an online merchandise store. So with all that time spent on making that pretty logo of yours, why not show it off a little more? Give your more passionate supporters a new way to support, to show their support for your not-for-profit's work, while simultaneously benefiting from the free promo that comes with selling the merchandise. So we're talking about stickers for laptops or even on cars, caps, t-shirts, tote bags, and mugs. The list is really endless here. I've put Edgar's Mission as a really good example. Some of you may know Edgar's Mission. They're based in Victoria. They're an animal sanctuary, and I encourage you all to check out Edgar's Mission, their website. I think it's edgarsmission.org.au. They get really creative with the kind of merchandise that they have available. And being an animal sanctuary, they hero what they're all about, the animals. And so those personalities of the animals come through in books and on t-shirts and through sponsoring the animals with monthly donations as well. So definitely worth checking out. You can run workshops, programs, or webinars like this right here. All of you have a team of passionate and skilled people at your disposal, and there's a market for that expertise. While you might feel like your organization has limited resources, there's one infinite resource that transcends the dollar value, and that's the learned experience that you possess and that your team possess. So you can plan out a program for a webinar or an in-person workshop, and you can push this out to your regular donors, including your corporates, local community clubs and associations. So play to your strengths. What does your business do best? How can others learn from that? Certainly food for thought. You can sell services or products that relate to your cause. Maybe your animal rescue shelter could open a retail arm for dog toys, bowls, collars, perhaps a dog walking service that could service locals in your community. You can easily expand to a social enterprise by exploring themes and contexts around your work, resulting in your organization becoming more of a household name and certainly front of mind with the cause that you represent. You can sell ad space on your website or even in your e-newsletter. Simple to implement for sure, and an effective strategy. Placing ads on your charity's website or email newsletters is a great way to not only create some extra pocket money for your cause, but also to network and connect with local businesses who may be able to form partnerships down the line. You can rent out your office space. I'm sure you're all aware that co-working spaces are a growing trend. Whether they're a fad is to be seen, although with the increase in population, I imagine they will continue to be very popular. Just how big is your office space? If your organization has space to call its own, you already have a dormant asset waiting to make money. You can transform part of your office or hall space into a co-working space to local clubs, sports teams, especially entrepreneurs. They don't need a lot. They essentially need, I mean, you know, some co-working spaces here in Melbourne, and they're great and they're beautiful, but they're very expensive just for a desk. And that's really all that people need, a desk so they can set up their laptop and they can connect to the internet and they can be working away. The networking element of co-working spaces is also incredibly important. So you can bring people in there that can do business together, that can do business with your organization as well. So beyond those ideas there, I just wanted to run through some real examples from brands. I'm sure you'll certainly be familiar with some of these here. Oxfam, Mission Australia, but I'll start with Street. Anybody who is Melbourne based would be, I'd say, familiar with Street. They're a social enterprise. They're co-founded by their CEO Rebecca Scott and also Kate Burrell. They use hospitality as a business to provide training locations and the funds to run its youth programs. So they've got now 2 venues, 2 restaurants in Melbourne, and the one in Collingwood I've been to, and the food is exceptional, and so is the coffee. So they are geared towards stopping youth homelessness and disadvantage. They employ people from tough backgrounds to be able to work in the space, and they're very busy and they generate a lot of money, and they're able to support an important cause while running a highly successful business. Arguably, people would go there even if the food wasn't excellent, and just because the cause is so strong. So Street is a great example worth looking up. CARES, which is the Centre for Education and Research and Environmental Strategies, quite a mouthful. They're based just north of Melbourne in East Brunswick. They're a sustainability centre. They have a number of different social enterprises. They've got fair food, they've got a nursery, they've got an organic grocer, they've got a cafe in there. And again, I've been there and the food is great, the coffee is great, and this goes back to what I was saying before. It's still got to be really quality stuff, good quality stuff. They also have venue hire, and they generate some really strong revenue with the work they do, and having that very strong purpose in the way that they operate. Oxfam, obviously, we all know, they have a social enterprise retail store, an ethical retailer. They've got food decor, fashion, and even giftware. And lastly, Mission Australia. So they have a social enterprise and services and stores. They've got a number of different things going on. So they've got New South Wales op shops. They provide local jobs and training. They raise funds for community services and also reduce landfill in the local community with the work they do. There's IT services for local enterprise refurbishment, and they sell IT equipment donated by the community and businesses. In Victoria, social enterprises focus on alleviating youth unemployment. They give young people the chance to learn new skills, build workplace confidence, and gain qualifications. Trainees also receive support to overcome any other personal challenges that may have held them back in the past. Charcoal Lane, a restaurant in Fitzroy that serves modern Australian cuisine infused with native flavours. It takes on young trainees who are Aboriginal or have experienced significant barriers to unemployment. They've also got Synergy Auto Repairs business. It gives young people a taste of working life and certified training in automotive repairs. A lot of stuff there with Mission Australia, and I'll be happy to share any of those notes to anybody afterwards. My email will be at the end, and obviously we'll have time for questions as well. Well, there's plenty of stuff coming out of this session. Lots of ideas. I hope that's providing value to you all, and to tell you a little bit more about what we do at Volley. We currently work with around 400 not-for-profit organisations, and everything that I've discussed in this session, we can help you achieve. We've been operational for a couple of years. We're an online volunteering marketplace. We connect the skills of modern day professionals with the needs of not-for-profit organisations. Now, all projects on Volley have a clear start and end date. They are project-based and they can be completed from anywhere in the world. This is really effectively engaging that next generation of volunteer, millennials. They account for 95% of our database, and through Volley, we build websites, we help you create online stores, we can develop various different strategies, we can help create logos, provide legal advice. The possibilities are almost endless there, really. Compared to traditional volunteering, we're very fast with applications in just a few clicks, and we're highly cost effective for not-for-profits. We always have complete transparency around that. So this conversation will be no different. For one completed project on Volley, it's $49. You purchase 3 and it's $99, and a value pack of 5 projects is $149. We're a social enterprise in ourselves, Volley, because the average project value on Volley generates around $1,000 of savings to a not-for-profit, which means for every dollar that you spend through Volley, you get around $20 in return. So we're driven by social impact, and we can help you in a range of different ways. And we are an end-to-end service. We're not a job board. It's not a post and best of luck finding someone. We workshop around your requirements. We actively connect you with a highly skilled person that you require, and we stay with you until that project's completed. So yeah, almost 2 years of operation, 400 projects that have gone live through our platform, 7,000 skilled volunteering hours, and we've saved the current, as I said, around 400 not-for-profits using Volley, $350,000 to date, and there's that average project value again. We're working with some of the biggest not-for-profit organisations in Australia, and also some of the absolute smallest, and we absolutely love them all. Something I really enjoy about Volley is that we put all of our organisations on a level playing field. People jump on and say, this is what I'm good at. I'm a marketing professional, and this is what I care about. You know, I want to work in the mental health space, and no matter how big or small your organisation, people can discover your projects and apply. So so that's the presentation itself. I got through without any questions, so it kind of flowed quite nicely, but I'd love to hear any questions that anybody has now, and of course would be available beyond this. That's my email address there, to workshop any of the ideas that hopefully this session has given you.
Sure thing, Matt. So like Matt said, please do feel free to send through your questions. I will be seeing those and I can relay those to Matt now. We have got plenty of time for questions here. And in fact, we did have one just come through here from Rachel, who's asked, is there a limit to the size of projects that we can request with Volley?
Well, we're just reasonable to the fact that our skilled professionals, they are in full-time work typically. The average project would be 20 hours and completed over a 4-week period. They do go smaller than that. We have projects posted for a content creator to develop some new EDMs, and that could be 10 or 15 hours, and we go right up to building websites and apps. Which can be bigger, but what we do is we provide that project management, and it is a case of, if you say to us, this is what we need, then we might say, okay, well, that's actually 2 projects or that's 3 projects. We're going to break that down because we're going to bring in a UX web developer, we're going to bring in a customer experience specialist, and we're going to bring in a graphic designer for this. So we help to project manage all those different requirements. And yeah, we're just reasonable to the fact that people do still have full-time work and personal and professional commitments.
Fantastic, thanks, Matt. Now I have actually got a couple of people have just popped in and asked as well, is Volley available in New Zealand or is it Australian only at this point?
No, we are available in New Zealand. Yeah, it's a market that we're actually looking to engage more and more from now. So yeah, we're absolutely available. We would welcome any New Zealand not-for-profit organisations and to connect with them. We actually work with, so it's around 400 not-for-profit organisations, and outside of Australia in 13 different countries. Now there is just 1 or 2 in these various other countries, but we work with a youth organisation in Kenya and also a youth organisation in Uganda. We work with a animal welfare organisation in Toronto, Canada. We work with another one in Los Angeles. We work with a mental health organisation in Indonesia. So this is what it's all about in this day and age. We are in this gig economy, in this on-demand age, and your organizations can tap into a world of talent. So even though we haven't really marketed outside of Australia yet, we are starting to attract overseas not-for-profit organizations, and we will as we market more to overseas markets when we go to the US and New Zealand more so, and the UK. It's about you guys being able to tap into all of these talents. If it's that lawyer in London or that marketing specialist in New York, this is the age in which we live, and I think it's only going to benefit the not-for-profit sector.
Excellent. I hope that answers the question here. All right, so we've had more questions flood through, so I'll get through them now. So the first question we've got comes from Vicky here, who said, I'm in New Zealand and I'm looking for different types of business structures that work best for social enterprise. Charitable company is an option here. Maybe is that different in Australia?
No, I mean, how you structure your organization, to my understanding, would be similar in each market. And I'm happy to speak with you more about this, Vicky, offline. But when myself and my co-founder were developing Volley, the structure of your organization is incredibly important. Are you a not-for-profit organization? A social enterprise is essentially, you're a private business, we're a proprietary limited company. We are a certified B Corp as well. Anybody that knows about the B Corp movement, it's a certification as a business for good, and it's a very rigorous process. So along with being a private business, we have that certification because we're in it for the right reasons. Speaking from personal experience, I set Volley up as a private business and a social enterprise just because of how far we want to take the business. I saw some limitations at setting up as a not-for-profit organization with just how quickly we wanted to grow. So it's a key consideration, and yeah, as I said, Vicky, happy to speak with you more about it offline. We could jump on a call in the coming weeks.
Excellent. All right, I've got a question here from Buffy, who's asked, hi, so if I wanted to update our logo, could that be a project that we could work with you on?
Yeah, absolutely. So we could update your logo. We'd also create an accompanying style guide, which is always important for brand consistency moving forward. So yeah, we've refreshed a lot of logos. Branding is incredibly important. They say in this day and age that if your customers can't draw your logo, then it's too complicated. I suppose we live in this age of simplicity. So yeah, that's absolutely something that we can do.
Awesome. All right. Now I've got a question from Andrew here, and there's a couple of questions to it, and it's a little bit long, so just give me a little bit to get through it here. So
No
Andrew
problem.
said, "Hi, I work for the state government in South Australia. What role do you see for government in linking social enterprises into potential social procurement opportunities? E.g., if an NGO starts a cleaning business, how does that cleaning business could compete for contracts?" And a follow-up question, what role do you see for government in helping develop a strong social enterprise ecosystem to enable these types of businesses to operate at more scale? Thanks, Andrew.
Wow, Andrew, great question. Very, very powerful question. Having been on the journey now for, well, 2 years of operation with Volley, actually 3 years since I quit my job, it's really tough to build a business that has that social purpose, and you're not just out there to make money. It's incredibly tough to find investors and access to funding and people that will truly back your idea is very, very hard. I've learned the difficult way that a lot of people can call themselves impact investors, as is the term, or ethical investors, but it's this point of scale which is incredibly important. Now, I think the ecosystem within Australia is good, and the future looks really bright around that very early stage. Incubator programs and accelerator programs, they give businesses their starting point, so that's good. Every university now either teaches entrepreneurship or certainly has an incubator or an accelerator program. So that's good, and you can learn the basics. You can develop that structure of your organization, and really they get you to the point of bringing on your first customers. Ideally, it's the scale part which really I think needs more attention and needs more support from government, because Australia can be one of the absolute top countries on the planet to produce big businesses that create and combat social issues, or even just go on to be really huge, successful, and just cool companies like Canva, which is just really straightforward graphic design software. But yeah, we need more support in that phase of scale, and going from earning a few hundred to a few $1,000s a month, and with all the outgoings, that still doesn't bring in much in terms of a salary, and just being able to go to that next level. The investor space in Australia, I know this because I've spoken to a lot of Aussie investors. They admit it themselves. I know a lot of American investors and Aussie companies that have received American funding. Aussies are highly risk averse. Americans are more willing to have a go and take a bit of a risk. But in the Australian landscape, there's far fewer investors or those sorts of individuals or organisations that will back a really good business. And because of that, it can just be very tough. And at the end of the day, people can only sustain their startup for so long.
All right, excellent. Thanks for that, Matt. I've got another question here that's come in from Alvin, who's asked, is there accredited training available that workers can undertake? And can they come to a community to deliver this in a blended model that would suit, say, a workers where they can get time off to attend that sort of, I guess, event?
So, sorry, just to clarify, so upskilling essentially for the workforce, would that be right? Is that in the realm of the question?
Yeah, Alvin, would you be able to just clarify and just pop that in the question there? Yes, correct. That's what he said.
Yeah, there's a lot of great options out there now. You know, that traditional journey of going through school, going to university, getting a job. There's great organisations out there like General Assembly, like Academy XI, that can teach upskilling in that specific tech arena. You can learn to code, or you can learn to become a fantastic content creator. So lots of organizations like that, and again, happy to jump offline and talk about this further. There's also some really great schools of leadership and entrepreneurship, such as the Plato Project, such as the School of Life. It's becoming very, very popular because I think a lot of us can admit that we go through school and we study what we study, and then we hit, I'm 34, you hit your late 20s, early 30s, wherever in life, and you suddenly realize, do you know what, I don't actually want to do this anymore. I don't really care about this anymore. I want to be a photographer. So there are lots of great schools like that available. They provide open nights and those sorts of sessions. And also, I would just say, this is something I do a lot, just get along to events. Like, I know in Melbourne and Sydney it's very similar, and I'm sure other cities would be the same. There's so many great events. I'm going to a few events this week. MYOB hosting an event tomorrow night. You can learn so much from these. There are great speakers, and whatever that topic of interest you have, these meetup nights are fantastic. You meet great people and you learn so much.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Matt. Here we go. All right. Yep. And Alvin sent through a question again. Thanks, Alvin. Looks like I'll pass that one along to Matt after the webinar as well, if you don't mind. Otherwise, we haven't got any questions as it stands right now. If anyone would like to send one through in the next minute or so, that'd be fantastic. Otherwise, I'll go through a little bit of the wrap up now, just so that people are aware of that. But again, we have still got plenty of time for questions. So again, if you do want to send that through, please do so. Otherwise, yeah, thanks, Matt, for presenting today, and thanks everyone else who's shown up. I hope everybody's learned a lot from this presentation, and that we have managed to get through the questions that have come through. Again, if you've got any questions, feel free to send some through now. If there are any that come to you later, such as a little bit after the webinar, sorry, excuse me there, please do feel free to send that through to Matt later. Obviously, he's got his email there. Otherwise, do send that through to events@connectingup.org as well. We're happy to take your feedback too. Don't forget, again, the recording will be available within the next link, and you will all get a link for that, so do keep an eye out on your inbox. Otherwise, thank you all for being with us. Now, we have got a few questions that have come in while I was doing a little bit of the outro here, so let's have a look at this. We have got a question that's come here from Beth, who's asked, do you have a corporate sponsor experts that could help us out with a project?
Yes, we are. We're working with a number of corporates now, Beth. We are actually beginning the conversations around Christmas now as well, because I know how certain corporates come November or sometimes early December will be like, right, let's call up X charity and get involved, which is far too late and a lot of stress. So we have a lot of conversations, and we work with a number of different corporates. A huge passion of mine, along with helping the not-for-profit sector however I can, and to better embrace technology and certainly engage with millennials, is about businesses looking at their corporate social responsibility and their social impact a lot more thoroughly, and it's beyond just that day and that photo opportunity. We're talking to businesses with, if not hundreds, then thousands of staff that can solve various different issues for not-for-profit organizations. So we work with a number of corporates, and we can engage their marketing team, or their IT department, or their legal department, with various different requirements that the not-for-profit sector has and needs completed. So yeah, we can certainly align corporates, and as I say, those Christmas conversations are going to be coming up pretty soon. We plan to facilitate hackathons as well. I'm sure a lot of you know what a hackathon is, but essentially you pose a problem, a fairly big problem that you need solving. It might be an app, it might be a marketing strategy, and a team of people work on that for a certain period of time. It's usually a day or 2 days, and at the end of the 2 days, when you've got a team of 5, 10, 15 people, you've actually received thousands of dollars worth of value and been able to solve a problem within your organization. Volley went through a hackathon not so long ago. I worked out we got about $8,000 worth of free time from web developers. So yeah, it's a great resource, and we're planning to do that in the near future as well.
Excellent. All right. I've got another question here that's come through from Cara, who's asked, regarding merchandise, are there any discounts for non-profit organizations? Do you know of any in New Zealand offhand?
Discounts with what in particular regarding merchandise, Cara? Sorry, as in purchasing the merchandise, purchasing the goods themselves for you to be able to brand.
I suspect that's going to be the case, but Cara, yep,
Yeah,
here we go. As opposed to corporate and yes, purchasing. Yep. Thanks, Cara, for
yeah,
clarifying.
yeah, absolutely. And I suppose that's all part of the negotiation process. I actually, we've got a brand. I'll plug them because they're a great brand. They're a certified B Corp as well. They're called Etiko, Greek for ethical, and the founder is Greek, Etiko. They would certainly offer a discount. I'm happy to facilitate that connection to the founder as well. Please send me an email. Yeah, but discounts are always available. It's good for the businesses to be working with great organizations like yours, and just drive a hard bargain. They say 10%, demand 20%.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt. All right, well, it looks like that does seem to be the end of the questions now. So unless anyone wants to send any through in the next 30 seconds or so, I think we'll call it quits for now. So again, thanks everyone for showing along, and thanks again, Matt. Again, if you've got questions, please do send them through. I'll find Matt or ourselves. We can pass them along to Matt, and we can make sure that gets answered for you. Otherwise, yeah, thanks everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks again, Matt.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. It's been really great presenting and some really great questions. So hope to hear from you all soon, and yeah, looking forward to keeping in touch.
All right, thanks everybody. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you all later.